In episode 5, Joe and Bronte are in the full swing of the affair. They're in the honeymoon stage, if you will. They enjoy alone time while they sit there and read each other's writing. Total nerd stuff, but stuff that Joe is really into. It's gotten to the point where when Joe gets home and he's alone with Kate, all he can really think about is Bronte. But Kate now wants to know who the hell she married. She contacts Cynthia, the private investigator that she hired 3 years ago, to basically erase all of Joe's past and allow him to come back to New York City. At the time, Kate thought it was a good idea, and that the death of Reese Montrose was something that he had to do for her. And she was kind of blinded by love. But now she's got a lot of questions, and she wants to know exactly what this private investigator found on Joe. Because at that point, she was in the dark on everything. For Joe, he's been spending most of the time at the bookstore flirting with Bronte and sleeping with her. But he also wants to show that he can take care of her. So after one sexual fling, he has groceries delivered to her apartment, and he has a masseuse come over and give her a massage because it seems like lately she's been stressed out. After the massage, though, Bronte chases the masseuse out on the street, and she tries to tip her, where the masseuse tells Bronte, hey, Mr. Goldberg took care of everything. And Bronte's thrilled. Okay, yeah, I don't have to spend money. But what neither woman knew was that Kate had gone to the bookstore. She was outside on the street near a bus stop, overhearing the conversation. And now she knows that Joe is likely having an affair with Bronte. At this betrayal, she goes to the one person she knows who she can trust, and that's Teddy. And she confides in him that she found out Joe was cheating on her. She starts beating herself up, and Teddy starts trying to make her feel better. And Teddy finally asks her, now that you don't have to protect him, can you please tell me who the hell you married? And she admits that she didn't know anything before. She thought she could have a happily ever after with this guy, but now she's realizing she never knew him to begin with. She doesn't come right out and tell Teddy exactly what Joe did in London, but she pussyfoots around it, saying that Joe did some things in London and she made herself believe that it was to protect her, but now she's realizing that was never the case. She then grabs her iPad and shows Teddy the findings from the private investigator, and it's fishy. I mean, it looks really bad for Joe. Like, for example, the fact that he was having an affair with Marion and then Love Quinn ended up dead. Oh, and Marion, she's missing. That's when it dawns on Teddy that Bob must have been Joe. And he gets really concerned for both Kate and himself. He feels like neither of them are safe while they're in the premises, but she assures him, no, we are safe because he doesn't know that I know any of this. She begs Teddy to just act normal, and he implores her to go to the police, but she says, no, I can't. Just allow me to handle it. Joe, meanwhile, this entire time has been at the bookstore, big shocker, where Bronte shows him some pages that she recently wrote. And it's all smut. I mean, it's like sexual fantasy and all of that. And Joe loves it, but he wants to know if that is what Bronte is into. And in fact, what is on the page is what she's into. So they decide to test it out. And a lot of it is like blindfolding and hands tied up. I'm not kink shaming, but that's what works on her. And when Joe starts to do it, Bronte does seem to get really turned on until all of a sudden something goes wrong. Like, her whole mood changes. She apologizes to Joe. She tells him, oh, you know what? I got cold. Not cold feet, but like physically I got cold. I'm sorry, but yeah, like we should table this. Joe, of course, starts questioning everything. Every move that he made to make Bronte go from 0 to 100 like this. And one of the things that he thinks might be what's throwing her off is the fact that Joe's phone kept going off, and that phone was going off from text messages from Maddie, who is freaking out. Maddie has been staying at Reagan's old house, pretending to be Reagan, inviting Harrison back and raising Gretchen. Now, it's unclear whether Harrison actually knows the truth, that the person in front of him is the person that he actually was having an affair with, but it's eating at Maddie. And mainly the fact that she killed her sister. She's been haunted by it. So she is blowing up Joe's phone to meet with him. And finally they do meet on the street, and she begs him to speed up the process of getting rid of Reagan. Because up until this point, nobody knows what happened to Reagan. Everybody just thinks that Reagan is staying at her house and stepped down from the board. But Maddie wants to speed up the death. And Joe says, no, we can't. I mean, we have to stick to the plan. It's way too soon after the board of directors vote. I mean, that's going to raise red flags, mainly from my wife. No, I got this all planned out. In a month, Reagan is going to go on a vacation, and she's not going to come back. She's going to go on a trip on a boat, and I've got a person down there that will take care of it. But yeah, that's the story we're going with. Until then, you just got to stick it out. And boy, Maddie does not want to stick it out. I mean, you can visibly see it. It's really, really getting to her. It certainly doesn't help when Kate shows up at her door later that day, because Kate had to find out what Joe did to Reagan. And Kate, who has been in the dark about the whole Reagan and Maddie situation, was texting Reagan, getting no answer, so she figured, I'll just go over to the house. And when Maddie answers the door, she forgets to switch into Reagan. So it's clear right away to Kate that it's Maddie in front of her, and she's a bit confused, but Maddie tells her that Reagan just forgave her and she's been staying here, but the place looks like it's a mess. Kate telling Maddie that she has to talk to Reagan, and Maddie trying like hell to avoid it, but Kate's persistent until finally Maddie says, fine, you know what, I'll get her. And she just goes into one of the bedrooms and locks the door. And she starts playing both characters, pretending to be Maddie, pretending to be Reagan. All the while, Kate is begging to be let in, but quote-unquote Reagan is telling her to go away. Until finally playing both characters just gets to be too much, and Maddie lets Kate in and owns up to everything. Owns up to the fact that Reagan is dead because of her. Because of what really Joe pushed her to do in that torture cage at the bookstore. I mean, all of this is shocking as hell to Kate. She was not expecting it. Not at all. I mean, she knew that Joe had some dark secrets with his past, and obviously she knew that he had killed people, but this is something completely different. So once Kate gets home, she calls the one person, once again, she knows she can trust, that's Teddy, and she tells him exactly what's going on with the Reagan-Maddie situation. And he is just as surprised as Kate. Maddie's going to stay at Reagan's, pretending to be Reagan until the time is right, but for Teddy, he feels like this should be the nail in the coffin for Kate to go to the police about Joe. And yet, Kate still says, no, let me handle it. But Teddy can't figure out why she is so averse to going to the authorities, and that is when she admits, because I had his particular set of skills help me out. I had it in London with Reese Montrose, and now there's a girl in jail because of it, and I had him kill Uncle Bob, and it could all get back to me. So I am protecting this family by doing so. He's got a lot of dirt on me. He's got a lot of dirt on Maddie. I can't go to the cops. I have to take care of this myself. And Teddy is mortified. I mean, completely disgusted. Teddy is now looking at Kate like Kate looks at Joe. Teddy's concern is the fact that it is going to look like Bob was killed to give him a board seat, at the behest of Kate, or even worse, at the behest of Teddy. He reminds her that he's the black gay guy from Harlem. It'll probably fall on him no matter what. She assures him, though, that she can contain this, but he looks at her and says, you don't know that, because you don't know what Maddie's going to do. And more importantly, you don't know what Joe is going to do. Right before he leaves, he tells her, I care about you, Kate, and I care about your safety. But you know what? Maybe you should lose everything, because complicity has consequences. And up until this point, Joe has been gone all day, because after his meeting with Maddie, he went back to the bookstore to find that Bronte was not there. She left a note just saying, hey, sorry, I can't do this. I'm leaving. And that was it. Her phone was shut off, and there was no hint of where she went. She cleaned out the apartment. But Joe has a pretty good idea of what might have spurned this. There's only one person that could convince Bronte to leave, and that would be Clayton. He's able to get Clayton to admit that he is out of town when he sets up a fake email from a playhouse that, quote, wants to meet with him. So now Joe has been able to confirm that he and Bronte are both not in New York City. He then sneaks into Clayton's apartment, hops on his computer, hacks the email, and is able to find out the location of where Clayton is. It's like a sea town, not too far away. But as Joe is there, he gets a phone call from Bronte. She just needed to hear his voice, and she apologizes for having to leave so abruptly, but Joe begs her not to get off the phone, or at the very least, tell him where she is, but she says, no, I can't. She does admit, though, she's not alone. And then she hangs up. And Joe just star 69s the number to find out that it is a diner where he asks for the address. He shows up later. He talks to the guy who he talked to on the phone. He shows this waiter a couple of pictures of Bronte and Clayton, and the guy says, oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, they were definitely here. They were talking about going to this place. It's not too far away, and he gives him the directions. So Joe heads over there, trying to be a knight in shining armor for his quasi-girlfriend. He breaks into the house, but he's attacked by Bronte, who didn't know it was him. She tases him, and he wakes up, and then Bronte apologizes. And he asks her, why did you leave? Bronte admits that the whole sex thing, it freaked her out. It was just too close, and what she kept telling herself was the fact that Joe wasn't married. And yet he was, and she was the other woman, and she just didn't like it. In a moment of weakness, she called up Clayton, but then she remembered what a piece of crap he is, so she didn't want to hang out with him anyway. And that's when Joe lays on her that he's getting divorced. Yeah, him and Kate had a very tense conversation, especially after Henry found a hunting knife under Kate's pillow that she had placed there just in case Joe got, Joe Goldberg-ish. So they had a super tense conversation where Kate just said, we're going to get a divorce. We're going to be amicable about it, but yeah, we're getting divorced. So when Joe tells Bronte that he is getting divorced from Kate, it is true. And now that Bronte isn't the other woman, now that she could be the actual woman, that sexual fantasy, it's a lot more hot and steamy for Bronte. She's open to it. She's into it. And they go upstairs and they do the damn thing. Afterwards, Bronte heads back downstairs. Joe starts getting dressed. But then he hears a tense conversation and he can tell Clayton is in the house. He's like, what the hell is this guy doing here? So he goes downstairs to see, and Clayton is like, dude, get out of my face. And he punches Joe. But that's when Joe completely snaps. He sees that Clayton has knocked down Bronte, and he wants to come to her defense and do anything for her, and that is take out Clayton in that moment. And since Joe can't control his emotions, he ends up killing Clayton, bashing his head against a fireplace. As both Joe and Bronte are realizing what just took place, then two women burst out from the door, and they're filming the whole thing. But it's even worse than that. They're live on Instagram. And Joe immediately recognizes the one girl. She was doing the reading with Clayton. That first night that he met Clayton and Clayton decided to read out Bronte's writing, she was pretending to be the other person in the story. And as this girl is telling the world, Clayton is dead and Joe Goldberg just did it, Joe looks at Bronte and says, we got to get out of here. But then he notices Bronte is not moving. In fact, Bronte is holding up the taser at Joe. And that's when Joe realizes he might have just gotten catfished by her. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.